Where's the thing?
You can't score.
Yeah! 2! 2-1. Why are you starting without me?
I don't care.
So, Pastor Lawrence,
Yes, sir.
while I'm beating you,
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Why are you beating
while
me?
I'm beating you,
Why are you beating me? While I'm beating you.
you think
I think you're
you're too old for licks?
Think you're gonna get away with this? You think you're gonna get away with this? Look at me now. What time you score from right to center?
No, you're not. No, you're not. Yeah, yeah, yeah! All right, so Pastor Lawrence,
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
I got a question for you. Yeah! Yeah!
Okay.
Yeah!
What's the question? I'm ready for the question.
No, forget about the question. I'm on 3-1. So,
Yeah. Oh, 3-1.
one of the things that we're also hoping to inspire here. Why? Oh, I was gonna lash your finger in there. See how nice I am to you? I got a question for you. Do you think maybe, one of the hardest things I think for people to get around is trying new things. You know what I mean? Yeah! Yeah! 4-1. I hope you're recording every piece of this thing. One of the things here, I'm going to give you a shameless promotion. Pastor Lawrence is an author, right? And he's got this book, a poetry book. Did you bring it with you?
No.
Why?
I didn't think you were going to promote it.
See, this is why I'm going to quit as your manager. You're supposed to have that thing with you even if you don't have your Bible.
On my phone.
So Pastor Lawrence wrote a book of poetry. Tell them what the name of the
It's called Juxta Poetry, Lessons from Life.
All right. So Pastor Lawrence, I suspect that would have been out of your comfort zone. Like it's a very good book, nice cover, rich, meaningful things. The poetry has deep meaning. But when you do something like that, you're putting yourself out there.
Yeah, I think in some of the poems, for instance, a friend of mine said, "You mean, Pastor, you wrote that?" Because it sounds like a little, about love and so on. I said, "Well, what's wrong with that?" But I knew that when I wrote some of the things there people would say, kind of a,
Yeah.
Yeah, but I wasn't really. I guess I wasn't really thinking about that part of it. But I look at it backwards and I say, maybe so.
Yeah.
That's one of those things. But I think taking risks. I think in some of the places I've been, some of the things I've done.
Yeah.
I mean, I think, for example, one of the first things I did, which I didn't really know much about what I was doing, was going to sell books in Sweden.
Oh, you've been in Sweden. That's right. We did talk about that.
In the summer. Right?
How was that?
Well, that was a rich experience because I had to learn the language.
Yeah.
And I spent 3 months there, and in about 4 weeks you begin to pick up a bit more. And then it was exciting.
Yeah.
So I've learned from taking that risk that you can take some other risks.
Yeah.
And it's not so bad. But
when you went
Yeah.
to Sweden,
yeah.
were you kind of like on your own, or were there family, friends that went with you, or?
Students. So we went as students, and then we were put up with families. So I stayed with a family: husband, wife, 2 grown sons. All right, and then so I had a car. I went around selling books and so forth. That was a risk because I didn't know the language, didn't know the place, didn't know if I was going to make enough money.
Yeah.
That kind of thing. When you're in school.
Yeah.
And so yeah. But some of those things, I think I also thought, well, if it doesn't work, it doesn't work.
Yeah. I did a similar thing, and it's funny because your first example is around ministry, right? I remember going to Oakwood as an older student. I felt the calling of ministry on my life, and I couldn't run from the calling anymore. And I just remember packing up everything I had. In those days, I had a Mazda 626 Kronos. And I thought I was a big deal. You know what I mean? It was 5-speed. It had air conditioning that worked. Everything. I remember.
You needed it to go all the way to Oakwood, driving in the summer.
Yeah, man. I drove, and because gas was draining down on me, I had to wind down the window and turn off the
air conditioning.
But I remember going down there, and even though I knew a few people, I didn't have the same kind of support. And I just remember getting into the car and driving. I was crying too. full transparency, crying because I also knew that in this moment, no matter what would happen when I arrived there was no turning back. I knew that my life was going to like shift and change, but I'm glad I went. Not just because I'm a pastor, but I think it also taught me that some of the changes that we have to make, they don't always happen when you're still at home. Home is a good place to be. It creates safety. You know that you always have a fallback. You know, your parents are there, your friendships, and even if you want to double back. I mean, even when I left my job, they told me, look, if this pastoring thing doesn't work out for you, we still have your job. But by going, it almost opened up a whole new world. And maybe if I can just say this, I know we're having the conversation, but I'm pretty sure that there are some young people that are watching from home. Look, sometimes you got to get out of your house. You just literally have to just say, you know what? I know where I'm going. It may not be as nice as mom and dad's house. I may not have the same bed. I may not have the same food, you know, but it's mine and I can build from here. And I think one of the treasures and joys of trying a new thing is that when you start building, no one can take away from you how it was built. You know, like we're always looking for like a specialist, you know, calling Dr. So-and-so and whatever. And the truth is, while their experiences are real to them, they don't know how you've been able to go from there. Like, can you imagine when you talk about your journey from Jamaica to the UK, to Liberia, to Ontario, to Alberta, and I'm sure I've missed some stops in between, but Pastor Lawrence, you lived a rich life because you've trusted that the same God that took you to Sweden has taken you literally around the world.
Well, you know, the thing is, I was talking to my wife the other day, and I was telling her about a friend of mine who I spoke to just a couple weeks ago, who I had not seen her until about 5 years ago. The last time I saw her was like 1964. We're in school together, right?
1964?
Yeah.
They had schools back then.
Well, you know, boarding school, we made a board that time.
So you go into the board and then you come out a learned student? And so glad that those days are over.
But that's when he used to use slate, you know.
Oh, nice.
You know, and you could just
like from the Flintstones, Mr. Slate?
Yeah, same
see?
Mr. Flintstone.
Now you see how some of your jokes sound? Yeah. See like how you sighed there? That's how I've been sighing for years. So anyways, go ahead.
So I said to her, she said, has your wife ever been to Jamaica? I said, yeah, she's been. I said 3 days after I got married, I went to Jamaica. She said, did you take her to where, because this lady and I are from the same place, right?
Yeah.
I said, did you take her up there? I said, yeah. She said, how did you get there? I said, well, I got the bus, got off the bus, got to walk across the swinging bridge.
Yeah.
She said, you took your wife up there? Yeah. She said, if I were your wife, I'd divorce you 10 times.
Because she's seen where you're coming from.
Yes,
yeah.
So now the risk, right? But the risk I was telling Pam is this. I picked up my wife, 2 children, 6 years, 4 years old. I went all the way to Africa.
Right.
Not knowing where we were going.
Right.
So I said, would you do that again? He said, well, we'd have to think about it.
And you know, that's the thing about life, Pastor Lawrence, because sometimes in these journeys of building and starting new things, if you know what you know now, you wouldn't do it. And yet the joy of the journey is the unexpected.
Yeah, the unexpected. Because you see, part of this unexpected was we land in the country. Nobody replied to our phone call. Nobody replied to our
So you're like imposing on the country then.
So we get there, and they knew we were coming, but nobody to meet us. And we get to the airport is one thing. But get to the house, and guess what? Walk in the front room, and they had carpet. 1.5 inches of water. First day though.
Rain season?
The rainy season, the roof,
leaking.
Flat roof leaking, coming down the walls. And they hadn't been back to check. They'd painted the house and everything. Nobody been back to check it. So our first day in this new country.
It's not favorable.
Risk.
Yeah.
But you know, we spent 7 years. It was better. It got better as time went by.
And you know what? Better or not, it's an experience that no one can take away.
Nobody can take that.
You know, like I've had the privilege. You know, sometimes people will say, "Oh, Pastor Anderson," you know what I mean? Because they only see us when we're like cleaned up now. You got a degree, you got a job, you have a little bit more income, but they don't know the journey. Like one of the things that has really helped me to appreciate my parents and our family is I know where we're coming from. Now, I didn't get permission, or else I would say a little bit more in terms of, I mean, they didn't grow up.
The rough times,
Some rough times. You know, I got to see where my father would have walked through some of the paths on the way from and to and from the market. I watched where my mom would grow up and into the backyard, literally where the coconut tree would be, and she would climb it, or find somebody in the area that can pick it and bring it down. And when I look at that, here's what I say, especially to parents who have left. It doesn't have to be the Caribbean because people travel.
Yeah.
There's something to be said when you can leave that and in less than a lifetime build something that takes generations for others to do. And because we're people of faith, I need to say this out loud, it could only be God.
Yeah, I know, and that's the fact, that's the fact, because I think you talk about taking risks though, and I was just thinking, when I decided I was going to go to study for ministry, because I had resisted it, people say, oh, you need to be a minister, and I said, no, I couldn't see myself in a black suit and white tie and black shirt and whatever it were, and so I said to myself, no. So anyway, I decided to apply for a grant.
Grant?
Yes, the Inner London Education Authority. They used to give grants. No, not a loan.
That's like free money.
You're free money. So I wrote to them, and guess what they said? We don't give grants to independent institutions.
Oh wow.
Private.
Okay.
So I wrote back and I said, well, my father died and mother, and gave a lot of excuses. And a few months later, I got a reply with just a card saying, we're looking into your application.
Nice.
Right, so I still want to go, and I have this is like February, so I'm planning to go to Newbold in September.
Right.
Heard nothing from them, but I had 1 year's fees. My mother had 1 year. She said you can work the other 2.
Right.
I get to Newbold.
Yeah.
And 2 days or so after I got there, the letter was sent to my house in London, and they redirected it to me. And may come in one day, right?
Yeah.
So the letter comes and it says, I opened it. You have been given a grant for 4 years.
Wow.
I mean, a grant, not a loan.
Not a loan.
So I said to myself, but isn't that God? I mean, risk, yes, faith, but isn't that God?
And you know what, it's funny because when I listen to your story, because I don't have that kind of story. I mean, I have stories of risk and taking chances, but I think that you have a powerful story because I know coming out of Jamaica, to do all of what you've been able to do in less than a lifetime. Like I'm talking to you, you're alive. So this is history still being developed. It just reminds me of like Abraham. And of course, Abraham, I think, started off better than you and I did, right? I mean, the idea that God would just look at Abraham, who already has more than enough, and tell him that with the more than enough that you already have, if you trust me, I will do for you that which you will not see in your lifetime. And I think that that's the challenge. We're always talking, right? But the challenge is, can we trust God enough to take a chance on building something on our backs, on our feet, on our shoulders, that we may not see the full manifestation of it?
You see, that's one of the lessons I learned from my mother.
Yeah.
She always used the phrase, why don't we trust God more?
Yeah, man. Yeah.
And I've learned that that's so true.
Yeah.
Because I've seen throughout my life, and those of us listening here, remember that when God says he'll bless you, he means it.
Yeah.
And he keeps his promise. So when you go out on that limb, you see, I don't believe in what is called blind faith. I think faith is that you've seen God work even a little way before.
Yes, I like that. I like that.
And then you say, okay, let me build on that. Let me trust him some more. And he works.
Yeah.
And especially when he knows, because he knows what's going to happen.
Sure.
That you're going to be able to be an influence and an example. And so, some young people out there listening may say, well, I don't know about that. But just try it.
Yeah.
Just put your foot in the water and see how the Red Sea.
Well, Pastor Lawrence, I also want to put it this way. And I appreciate you saying to the young people, but I'm also going to turn it back and to say to those that are a little bit older, put your foot out into the water as well. Because there's a mother or father or grandparent, a great grandparent. Look, one of the blessings of social media is you get to hear stories without having to go to the library and download stuff. I mean, how many stories have we heard during this pandemic where 80-year-old somebody finally got their GED, right? 90-something-year-old PhD, and it's not all educational, right? Even, let me tell you what's risky. Even going back to a failed family and trying again. Like sometimes you see that there are some children that are stuck because parents didn't work out, things didn't work, whatever, and maybe father left or mother left, and then maybe 40, 50 years later they come back. And just the return creates a greater footing for the person that's experienced that loss.
So older people, younger people, we can all try it because you know, God has
Yeah.
a way of surprising us.
Yeah.
You know,
Every time.
Yes, and
Every
the
time.
rewards are so great. So
Yeah.
when we think about it, you're never too young, you're never too old,
Yeah.
and God is always the same. So we can. Hey, no, I was not ready.
I win. I took the
No,
chance that if I drop the ball,
I think that is cheating.
you cheated before as well.
Was I?
It's on the footage.
Yeah,
They'll
I know.
see it.
I would.
They'll see it. It's on the footage.
But you took a risk because
took a
I
risk.
could have hit you because you took that risk. You know, because
You know what I want to do?
I'm
I want to
dangerous.
push you into the corner.
Listen, I'm dangerous.
I know you're
Okay,
dangerous.
so just don't mess
and that's
about
why the Lord has been working with the risky you.
Yeah, he's molding me and fashioning me.
Yeah, look, we're just talking today about risks.
Risks, yes,
And you're listening to two real people
who are risky.
who have taken real chances,
Yeah.
and the Lord has blessed us.
Always will. Thank you.
Take a chance.
Take a chance, take a chance,
Yeah.
take a chance on me. That's what God. Take a chance, take a chance, take a chance on me.
Yeah.